Hi, friends. Edie Summers here, and thanks for listening. You're listening to Well TV. That's my station on YouTube, and my dream is to have a TV channel that's healthy lifestyle, healthy living, well-being TV 24/7. So I'm really hoping to manifest that because I feel like people are looking for ways to find constant information and motivation information on how to live a healthy lifestyle, or if you have a certain health or wellness issue that you're looking to dive deeper into, a channel where you can find all that information. So this is my way of kind of living out that idea for now here on YouTube. So I'm the author of The Memory of Health: A Journey to Wellbeing. It took me 10 years to write, and I developed some chronic fatigue issues in my early 20s. And I went from someone who had a lot of energy to really struggling after I had surgery for a ski accident. I had to have arthroscopic surgery, and I started sleeping all the time, and I was exhausted all the time. And it's a really long story. I did go to physical therapy, and I had to take a lot of prescription drugs for pain and for inflammation. And I share a lot of that in my book. My book is part of the beginning part is a memoir. So it shares my experience on what happened to me with chronic fatigue. And I was diagnosed with CFS in 2005. I have done relatively well myself in managing my symptoms. Now, it doesn't mean, it's not to say that they don't come back. And that's what I'm going to talk to you today about, is kind of those gentle reminders to remember to take care of yourself, and some of the tips that I've learned along the way that may help improve your energy or well-being. So we all have different circumstances for when we might be looking to improve our energy or well-being. My book is also designed to be a guide to well-being. So for anyone who has been through a great life, health, or wellness challenge, that book is written for you. It's definitely written for you if you have chronic fatigue or CFS. But if you have chronic fatigue for any reason, whether that's from, say, you've developed a chronic condition like CFS or chronic fatigue syndrome, but even potentially some other type of chronic condition like lupus, MS, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis. Even if you've been through chemotherapy, you might have cancer fatigue. I address a lot of different causes and theories of what might be causing chronic fatigue. And so I'm hoping that those different theories will resonate with different people. I also talk a lot about what helped me to improve my energy and well-being. I have so many tips in there, so many theories, a lot of research. I also talk about trauma and traumatic resilience, and hope and mindfulness, and I cover a lot of topics. It's really a book on well-being, but it also talks a great deal about how to improve your energy, and again, exploring different theories of chronic fatigue. So chronic fatigue is a symptom. So it can be linked to a lot of different conditions and situations, even burnout. So now you can have burnout. Mostly it's associated with if you've been working too much and kind of in the work environment. But did you know that you can also be burned out from having a chronic condition? So, but today I'm going to talk a little bit about some gentle reminders. So sometimes when you've been taking care of yourself for a really long time, let's say you have a chronic condition, or you're just looking to, you're one of those people that loves to improve your well-being in general, or your health, or maybe you have chronic fatigue or had chronic fatigue, and you're one of those people that's always looking for ways to just kind of improve your energy or well-being, then that's me. And I know that there are a lot of you out there as well. What I've learned is that it's not like you just fix it one day and then you're done. Usually what I've learned is that you develop a new normal. And that's what happened to me. But I also have to stay on top of my symptoms. If I experience too much stress, first, I just want to say that I do have a new normal. And in order for me to maintain my new normal, so that's to say that my body and kind of what's normal for me now is different than what was before I developed chronic fatigue in my early 20s. But in order to kind of get back to that new normal, I have to really stay on top of it every day. And, sometimes we forget to do things, or we get extra stressed. And I just want to clarify that some of you that are watching are going to be really high functioning. If you have chronic fatigue, you might be able to work. And some of you might be in bed. So everybody's going to have different levels of chronic fatigue, and everyone's going to be watching this from a different point of view. And some of you are maybe here because you're burned out from work or stress, or maybe you have chronic fatigue, or you're just looking to improve your energy or well-being for whatever reason it might be for you. So we're all going to be here for different reasons. But what it really comes down to, I've learned I have so many tips, and I can't go over all of it in one video. I definitely have a lot of videos on here. And of course, in my book is very comprehensive. So I go over so many, again, like tips and theories of not only chronic fatigue, but what can help to improve energy. So I've tried a lot of it, and it's going to, again, be different for everybody, what's going to work for you, because we all have different biochemistries. So we all have different circumstances, and some people have co-occurring conditions. I'm not saying that correctly, but like for instance, somebody might have chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. Someone might have lupus and someone might have fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. Someone might have lupus and fibromyalgia. So people can have kind of coexisting conditions as well. So, whatever your situation is, whatever helped you to land on this page or my YouTube channel, or to check out my book, The Memory of Health. It's, we all have different reasons that we're seeking more energy or more well-being. And I just want to say that I'm a big believer in, first of all, integrative health. I don't believe in picking sides. And I know that there's a big divide between mainstream medicine and alternative medicine. And sometimes that makes me really sad because I feel like there's so much that can help us on either side. What's helped me the most is more of the holistic treatments, holistic therapies, alternative therapies, just because I personally cannot take prescription drugs. So that's a factor that's ruled out for me. So I've had to find other ways to improve my well-being. What works for a lot of people with a lot of chronic conditions is what they call lifestyle medicine anyway. And that means that things that are in your control, it means diet, it means movement or exercise, but sometimes I use the word movement because, again, some people that have chronic fatigue, it can be a slippery slope talking about exercise, although it is, if you can do some type of movement, including, let's say, very, very gentle movement, that can be really helpful. Even like gentle yoga, for instance, or yin yoga, or even restorative yoga. But it's usually lifestyle medicine that helps people with chronic conditions. So it's what you eat, it's how you move, it's sleep, it's managing your stress, staying away from toxins, staying away from substances that can really kind of mess up your system. So, and these are epigenetic factors, meaning above and beyond genetics. And these type of factors, what's called lifestyle medicine, seems to work really well for people with chronic conditions. So, but again, my focus today is just talking about some gentle reminders. So I had some gentle reminders that improved my energy recently, and I wanted to just share them with you because sometimes I forget what to do, because again, it really does come down to what you have to kind of do every day or most days in order to minimize symptoms, right? And sort of whether that's calming inflammation or helping your nervous system regulate, or kind of giving your body the upper edge with nutrition, making sure you're getting fresh air, sunlight. There's so many tips and so many things that I have found that have worked, that I just wanted to remind myself and you that, wherever your journey is in this, you might be at the very beginning of your journey and sort of trying to figure out what may work for you in terms of improving your energy or well-being or health. Or you might have been dealing with this for a really long time. Maybe you have chronic fatigue, maybe you have CFS, or maybe you're dealing with some other type of chronic condition. And, again, we're all going to have different circumstances, and we all have different things that work for us. I'm hoping that something does work for you. Some of the people that are in my groups and pages on Facebook are very, very sick, and some of them are in bed. And and I'm not here to judge. And I was in bed for 6 months, so I know how that goes. I know how it is to be so exhausted that you're not able to do much of anything, and everything feels completely overwhelming. And I've experienced chronic pain, and I've experienced some pretty extreme situations with symptoms in my body and circumstances with my body and with my life. So I've also been through a lot of trauma. So I've been through domestic violence, for instance. And there are other circumstances that can affect your well-being. So it's always good to come back to the basics. And once you find things that work for you, even if it helps just a little bit to improve your energy or well-being, then it's a good reminder to remember what those are. If you have to write them down, or whatever helps you remember, because anything helps, right? Anything that helps you feel even a little bit better is worth it. So these are some of the things that I had reminders for recently. And again, I have a lot of tips for energy. I have a lot of tips for well-being. I have a lot of tips to improve chronic fatigue, because again, I've experienced it myself in great depth, and I've been in the trenches, so to speak, with chronic fatigue and CFS multiple times. So I know what it feels like on a pretty deep level. But I've also I've had a lot of success as well in terms of what improves my energy. And again, what I share with you isn't necessarily going to work for you. And I'm not prescribing to you. I'm not diagnosing you. I'm not treating you. But what I was talking about in terms of alternative health and mainstream health and integrative health, which is kind of finding that common ground between alternative health and mainstream health. I think there's a lot of value in finding what works for you on either side of the aisle. And usually it's a combination of things that work for people. So I encourage you to keep seeking answers. If you find something here today that helps you, or in my book, I have so many tips in there for energy and what may help improve your situation. My goal in writing my book was to hopefully someone who was reading it, for them to find something in it that they can relate to, whether it's a story or a theory or a tip. I have hundreds of tips, hundreds of theories. So, and it's all related to energy, well-being, chronic fatigue, trauma, resilience, mindfulness. The list goes on and on. The book is extremely comprehensive. But some of the gentle reminders that I had recently are, now for me, I can't do a lot of like super intense exercise at the moment. However, I can do some yoga, and I can do some gentle walking. So for me, I took a walk outside, and it's just the fresh air, and it's the sunlight, and it's the gentle movement. Those can do wonders for your body. If you feel like you can't exercise, I encourage you to sit outside, and just even for a little bit, if nothing else, sit by a window. Make sure that you're getting access to sunlight and fresh air. It's nature too. Nature is so healing. And also, did you know that the sunlight is really, really important for sleep and for your circadian rhythms? So early morning exposure to sunlight, like, you want to aim for like 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes in the early morning can help kind of reset your circadian rhythm and clocks. And most of your cells in your body have those circadian clocks, and they kind of keep you on track, and they help you sleep better. So, and then try to get some more exposure to sunlight a couple times throughout the day. And even as it gets darker here, as we're heading into the time of year here in the United States, at least, where we're going to be heading into the fall and winter months. And you want to sort of keep your access to sunlight as much as you can, like naturally. So like while it's daylight out, if that makes sense. Like, so if you're inside, make sure the windows are up, make sure the blinds are up. Do you know what I mean? Like, so that you have that natural sunlight for as long as you can throughout the day, especially when we're heading into the darker months. But it can really help you to sleep deeper. It can improve your mood. Sunlight also can produce serotonin, which helps your mood and actually is converted into melatonin at nighttime. Melatonin is a hormone that's connected to the circadian rhythm. So we want to some of the things that you can do to help increase your melatonin level at nighttime is to get that early morning exposure to sunlight. But it's also just nice to have that, whether you can take a walk in nature or not, or get outside for a little bit, or just it also helps to decompress your nervous system, right? So there are a lot of reasons to, if nothing else, try to step outside and sit somewhere so that you can just have that exposure to greenery, hearing the birds, a little exposure to sunlight, even if you're in the shade. I'm the kind of person that burns easily, so you'll usually find me with some kind of hat on, sun hat. But it's also very calming to the nervous system to be connected to the natural world and get that fresh air. It's so good for you. That can kind of help you get grounded and detoxify. And it's really, really healing. And it makes me feel more connected to something greater than myself. And so for me, it was so nice we have some woods here that have been developed a little bit in terms of trails. And I just always find it so healing to, take a stroll, look at the trees, kind of feel the soil underneath my feet, hear the birds, things like that. So now when I was talking about sleep, sunlight exposure, early morning sunlight exposure can be really, really helpful. And it's also managing your stress levels throughout the day. And I know that can be really difficult if you're not feeling well or if you're really stressed for whatever reason, whether that's a chronic condition, work, relationships, whatever the issue is, that can also affect your sleep. So it's really, really important to try to manage your stress throughout the day. And I find that, the gentle reminder of kind of getting back in touch with nature is extremely decompressing. So I highly recommend trying to, find a way to do that. And the sunlight on your skin is also very healing. I mean, again, even if you're wearing, like I have long sleeves on and it's almost fall here and I could feel just the sun just making me feel better. So that can help with your kind of lower your stress levels too by creating that serotonin. And it can also improve your mood, like I was saying. So some of the other gentle reminders that I usually do, I have a lot of health and wellness habits that I do that I've learned to do because I have to, because they make me feel better. So I've learned to do them because I know what the reward is that my energy will be better. I'll feel better. I'll sleep better. These are my rewards. And one of them that I had sort of ran out of, which I used to take on a regular basis, and I sort of ran out of it, is omega-3. So now I personally do well with omega-3 from flax oil. And so some people might do better with fish oil. But I personally do really well with getting omega-3s from flax. And omega-3 is an essential fatty acid, meaning that your body doesn't produce it. You need to consume it. And omega-3, did you know, helps with energy production. So yes, we get our energy from the foods that we eat, but there are certain supplements that can help potentiate that energy and help with the energy production in your mitochondria. And one of them is omega-3. Another one would be CoQ10 or the B vitamins. And so I I started taking it again, and not only does it help with energy production, but it reduces inflammation, makes your skin look good. It's good for your joints. There are so many good things that omega-3 is good for. And it's essential. It's an essential fatty acid, meaning that your body needs it and it doesn't produce it. So when I started taking that again, between that and getting back out into nature more, and which also helped me to decompress and get that fresh air and sunlight, my energy started going back up again. So, and it's, these are things that sometimes we forget to do because life is happening, and, whatever capacity that is for any of us, life is happening. And I have to remember to take care of myself. It's a pretty high priority for me, but for all of us, that's why I keep doing these videos. That's why I wrote the book. It's because we all need reminders to take care of ourselves and to take care of each other and to take care of this beautiful planet that we're on. Health and well-being. We can't always control our health, but our well-being, again, it's relative, but it's more within our reach because it is a relative term. But it's more within our reach based on health and wellness habits that we have every day. So, and sometimes it just takes a few tweaks to change how you feel, even if it's just a little bit. So, and also another reason why omega-3 is so important is because reducing inflammation, a lot of chronic conditions are tied to chronic inflammation, and CFS has been tied to chronic inflammatory disorders. So now again, the research is still out on exactly what causes CFS. We don't know, but it has been linked to inflammatory disorders. It's been linked to autoimmune disorders, but most chronic conditions are linked to chronic inflammation. And omega-3 is one really good way to help manage chronic inflammation in the body, and also phytonutrients. So meaning having more kind of plant-based foods, fruits and vegetables that are really high in those phytonutrients, antioxidants. They're going to help your body as well, potentially with energy production and minimizing inflammation. And did you know that inflammation can cause chronic fatigue? When you have chronic inflammation in your body, it can definitely exacerbate that feeling of chronic fatigue, if not be one of the contributing factors to it. So again, all the research is, we're still trying to figure out exactly what causes chronic fatigue syndrome. But again, remember that chronic fatigue, which is definitely tied to chronic fatigue syndrome, but it's also tied to many other situations because it's a symptom. It's tied to many other chronic conditions and situations, whether that's burnout, CFS, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, and many more. Chronic fatigue is a huge sign that, generally speaking, your body is something is not going well, right? And your body is sort of asking you to dial it down so that it can hopefully feel better. So hi, someone is watching, and it's nice to see you. Yeah, so I may wrap it up here soon, but thank you for being here. So, again, whatever brought you here, whether it's you're looking for more energy, or maybe you have chronic fatigue, or maybe you're looking to improve your health or well-being, there are so many tips out there. And, this is something I've been working on for most of my life, and trying to improve my well-being and helping other people improve their well-being. So I just want to encourage you to keep trying, to keep showing up for yourself. And, again, these are gentle reminders about what may or may not work for you. But once you find those things that work for you, remember them. And even if you have to write them down, remember them. And sometimes we all need reminders to come back to what's helping us. But it's usually the small things that do make a difference. Sometimes it's big changes that make a difference too, but a lot of times I find it's the small things. that can make a big difference in how you feel. And there are so many other things I could talk about when it comes to energy. It's managing your cortisol levels, which again, it can be very much tied to stress. So managing stress is really important. And, you don't want your cortisol levels to kind of get out of whack, because if they do, it makes it much harder to sleep. And sleep can really contribute a lot to how you feel, as we all know. So many people are struggling with sleep right now. And if I could give any tips around reminding you to, some of the things that may help you with sleeping better, manage your stress levels during the day, get some early sunlight exposure, watch what you eat, because if you're having a lot of like sugar stimulants, they're going to affect your cortisol levels, and they can throw them off and potentially kind of over time your cortisol levels can get reversed, meaning that you'll be more tired during the day because your cortisol levels are lower. And then when you're wanting to sleep, when you're needing to sleep, your cortisol levels will be higher. So it's also the same for adrenaline. And that's one of the reasons why movement is so important in any capacity, because it's really, as far as I understand it, the only two ways to move adrenaline out of your body are through exercise or movement and time. So it's good to find something that you can gently do, even if you can't do a lot of exercise, to kind of gently move that stress out of your body, if that makes sense. So again, I'm a huge fan of yoga, even if it's gentle yoga, gentle walking. Try to find we want to find those health and wellness habits that help us and that we can stick with. And sometimes it's hard to start a new habit unless you know what the reward is going to be. But I guarantee you, once you start feeling better from doing a health habit or a wellness habit, that itself is its own reward. Sometimes, again, it's easy to forget what works for us and forget the reason why we started doing a health or wellness habit. But again, once you start feeling better from taking care of yourself and finding the health or wellness habits that work for you, the reward is amazing when your energy starts to improve. The reward is amazing when you start to sleep better. The reward is amazing when you start to feel better. The reward is amazing on so many levels. And so, a lot of people are not a fan of thinking about health or wellness habits, but it is those small day-to-day things that usually make a difference. And a lot of it is, what we eat, how we move, how we manage our stress. And then I'm a huge fan of supplements. And again, I can't take prescription drugs. So for me, I have found a lot of high quality supplements that work. And you never want to substitute supplements, even if they're very high quality, for food. Always make sure that you're doing everything you can to eat well. And I know that there's a lot that goes into that, right? To some degree, you have to learn how to cook. You don't have to know a lot about cooking, but you have to learn the basics so that you can cook up a very easy meal, or prepare a very easy meal. It's the higher quality nutrition that you can give yourself, I would say, paired with good supplementation, and also making sure that you're taking good care of yourself during the day by getting enough sunlight, getting some gentle movement, keeping your stress down so that you can sleep better. There are a lot of ways to start improving your health and energy and well-being. And again, I have so many tips. So if you want to learn more, check out my book, The Memory of Health. Now you can find it. I'll tell you some of the ways you can find it. So it's definitely on Amazon. And if you're part of Kindle Unlimited, you can read The Memory of Health as an ebook for free if you have Kindle Unlimited. If you're part, you have to join Kindle Unlimited. I don't know what the price is. I think don't quote me on this, I want to say it's $9.99 a month or something. But then you can get a ton of ebooks that way. And The Memory of Health is one of them. You can add it to your queue. So as an ebook, the interior is in color. It has clickable links, I believe, and there are hundreds of clickable links in there for references, for links to articles. And I have so many tips in there for energy, nutrition, self-care, mindfulness, how to recover from trauma, how to create more resilience in your body. There's a ton of theories about what causes chronic fatigue. There are a ton of theories about what causes CFS. I could talk a lot about different chronic conditions in there, like MS, RA, lupus, fibromyalgia. I cover so many of them, even cancer fatigue. If it's related to chronic fatigue in any capacity, there's a very good chance it's in my book. I think there's some conditions I may have missed. But that's one way you could read my book. It's also available as a paperback on Amazon. Now that paperback is in black and white, but it's still a really nice edition. Actually, this is my book right here. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, here we go. It's called The Memory of Health. Here, I'll take out the cat. That's my cat book holder. The Memory of Health, A Journey to Wellbeing. So I had the gentleman who designed my book cover. He had chronic fatigue himself. So he designed this really amazing cover where he kind of designed it so it looks like you're traveling through this, kind of dark tunnel, and then you start to see the light and see nature and, kind of a beautiful, even star. There's a star, and it's a really beautiful cover. He did a really great job on it. He's a really great, I'm having trouble getting this in the picture. He's a really great book cover designer, Richard Crooks. He's incredible. And he had chronic fatigue himself, so he knew what it was like. Now, he had it for a completely different reason. I think it was for a B12 deficiency. So again, there are different reasons that people have chronic fatigue and different reasons that people develop chronic conditions. So this is the front cover of my book. It's called The Memory of Health, A Journey to Wellbeing. And then here's the side. This book took me 10 years to write. Isn't it? See, he did a really good job on that too. This is all Richard. Isn't that beautiful? And then here's the back. So you'll find it in different categories like mind, body, spirit, health and wellness, spirituality. Let me see, what are the self-help, health and fitness, body, mind, and spirit. You might find it in some other categories as well on Amazon, but if you type in The Memory of Health, it will definitely come up. You could type in The Memory of Health, Edie Summers, because sometimes it doesn't come up on its own. But yeah, there's the back cover. So you can see it's a pretty big book, but you can read it. You can flip to any page, and I designed it to be read even just one page. To find something useful. And there's also at the very beginning, I have an introduction that's just a couple pages long, and it goes over the highlights. There's also a table of contents that's very detailed so that you can look through it and see if anything catches your eye that might be relevant to your situation. So again, it's available on Amazon, The Memory of Health. And then it's also available on lulu.com in color as a paperback. And it's really beautiful in color, but what I was showing you, this is the black and white edition. So it's really nice in black and white too. Here's the, you can see the black and white is really nice too though. So that's the third chapter that I was just showing you, chapter 3, Waking Up Tired, the Shadow of Fatigue. So I have 5 chapters in it. Chapter 1 is my story, In My Shoes. Chapter 2 is Making the Connection, Body Burden. So I talk a lot about toxins in the modern world. I definitely talk about environmental illness in this book as well, environmental toxins. And I talk about 9/11 because so many first responders got sick from assisting at 9/11 because they were exposed to all the kind of the debris and the chemicals coming from the buildings that came down. So I talk about multiple chemical sensitivity, volatile organic compounds. I talk about cosmetics. I talk about kind of environmental racism and how certain areas in our country are sort of not protected as well. And it's really unfortunate how we kind of deem, right? Like maybe certain land not as valuable or not to be protected depending on who's living there. I mean, it's So I talk about environmental racism. And there, I go into fracking a little bit in here. Now, again, it might sound like this is very alternative, but I actually do discuss integrative medicine in here as well. I do talk about supplements and prescription drugs, and it's all about what works for you. Chapter 3 goes into all different theories of chronic fatigue and CFS, so I cover both. And then chapter 4 is, I call it the lights of health, and these are some of the things that helped me to feel better. And I give so many tips that might help you, so you can see. I talk about nutrition, digestive health, sustainable well-being, homeostasis is a really big one. There's so many different topics. And then chapter 5, I go into some of the coaching and spirituality, some of the spiritual aspects of well-being that sometimes can really help, sort of creating that mind-body-spirit connection. The mind-body connection is really powerful, I discovered. Mindfulness is really powerful. And so is also a lot of times intention and having a spiritual connection. There's so many different things that can help you. I like to approach well-being from a very holistic perspective. So my book is very holistic, and it's designed to really address a lot of different circumstances for a lot of different people. So it's designed for anyone who's been through any great life, health, or wellness challenge. So again, you can find it on Amazon as an ebook in color through Kindle Unlimited. You can also find it on Amazon as a paperback. You can also find it on lulu.com. That's where I published it. Lulu.com, Lulu.com. And on there, you can find the paperback with color interior. So it's like a really nice gift book. There are a lot of pictures in the book because I was a fan of Louise Hay. And they did a lot of gift books for her. And I was a huge fan of those gift books. They were always color on the inside with really great graphics. So my book has a lot of graphics in it. So I'm really writing to many different types of readers. I have a lot of research in there. If you really need the research. I was in grad school when I wrote this book. So I had access to a lot of research, and it's all in there. So I do my best to back up what I'm talking about with research. But it's also designed for people that are right-brained because there are a lot of images in it. And I also speak to, I write it in a both left-brained and right-brained way. So it's accessible to both people. Whatever your style of learning is, there's ways to access information there that's very straightforward. And there's ways to access information in my book that kind of speak more to the creative person. So whatever your situation is, if you're looking to improve your health or well-being, or if you've been through trauma, this book may help you. So again, thank you for listening today. And I hope some of this information helps you. Again, there are so many topics when it comes to well-being and energy and health. Again, I've been helping people as a wellness professional since 1995. I started in the natural foods industry, and I got into it because I was looking for answers to my own health issues. And getting into the natural foods industry really, really helped me. It made a huge difference. I learned so much about nutrition, really like organic foods, high quality supplements, spirituality, mindfulness, intention, sort of having the right environment around you where you're living, and how you interact with people, and how that all can influence your energy. And my energy started to get better in my 20s when I started to work in the natural foods industry. Now, then I got into a very stressful marriage. It was abusive, and my energy crashed again, and I was really sick again, so sick that I was in bed for 6 months. And unfortunately, when that marriage ended, I moved into a new condo that had new paint and carpeting in it. And unfortunately, I don't do very well when it comes to synthetic substances. So I was exhausted when I moved into this new condo. And then unfortunately, my body completely crashed again. And I got very, very sick because of the new paint and carpeting and all the stress that I had been under from domestic violence. So my body crashed again in my 30s, and I had to climb my way back out of it. And so I talk about all of these different circumstances in my book. both how I developed chronic fatigue after a ski accident in my early 20s, and whether it was surgery or all the prescription drugs I was on, I don't know. Something caused chronic fatigue to occur in my body. My body's never been the same since, but I started to recover my energy when I got into the natural foods industry, very much so. I started to feel a lot better. In some ways, I felt better than I did before. And I was really, really careful about my health and wellness habits in my 20s. And then my body crashed again in my 30s after an extremely stressful, violent marriage. And then also from moving into a home that was, for me, it was, my body was not able to process all the chemicals and toxins that were in the home, the off-gassing of the paint, the off-gassing of the new carpet. I wasn't able to process them. I have a liver disorder, it turns out, which I found out after I visited with an MD slash naturopath, and he was also a Chinese medicine doctor. So he had all three, kind of licenses and certifications. He was extremely knowledgeable. He's the one who diagnosed me with CFS in my 30s. But he also figured out that I have a liver disorder based on what I explained to him. And so eventually I had to move out of that condo that I was in. And now I'm in a place where I'm doing much better, and I don't have to worry about synthetic fragrances, synthetic chemicals, like synthetic, the paints and certain types of paint and carpeting that can be very burdensome for a lot of people. And did you know that a lot of people with chronic conditions, about 40% of people don't process very well a lot of things along those lines. It's because of how they methylate in terms of how they detoxify with their liver. So again, I cover so many topics in my book. If you have any type of energy or well-being issues or health issues, it may be worth a look for you, especially if you have chronic fatigue for any reason. And I'm just hoping that some of these reminders and tips for energy for you today help you. Again, you can check out my book for a lot more information. It's chock full of information. And I thank you so much for listening and watching, and I hope you have a really great day. And I have a lot of other content on here as well on my channel here on YouTube. And I've done a ton of interviews with people, experts and celebrities in the fields of health and wellness, and even even entrepreneurship and music and the arts. And I'm uploading a lot of it here to my YouTube channel. And I'm going to be doing some media interviews as well. So if I'm able to upload any of those onto my channel here, I will. I'm going to be talking about hope, how you can create hope in the modern world, especially if you've been through great challenge, whether that's challenge from a chronic condition or having gone through a disaster. I'm going to be talking a lot about hope with the media coming up here. So anything I'm able to upload to my site, I will. You can also look for those interviews as they come out. You can just look for Edie Summers probably for those interviews. But thank you so much for listening, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon. Take really good care. Bye-bye.